If we can take a step back from yesterday, I think that's kind of what we're seeing out there. Briana Chavez over in the Weather Center, keeping track of how it's all been shaping up for us here this morning. And yeah, definitely looks a little different, to say the least.
Yeah, it looks different. It feels different. Maybe a better, easier start to your morning as you guys head out the door across the area. That's not to say there isn't a little bit more of that mixed bag still hanging around, but definitely a lot easier than where we were yesterday. We're tracking out about a degree or two warmer, maybe even cooler for some areas along that I-5 corridor. And we have really been keeping a close watch on these temperatures. I mean, at some points just last week and earlier into this week, we were seeing about a 20 to 30 degree difference as far as cooling trends out over onto the eastern side. And satellite radar really continuing to show us a little bit of that change working its way on. And you can see it from the coast, working inland along portions of the coastline, the increasing clouds, and quite frankly, slowly going to continue to make that impact up and down that I-5 corridor this morning. If you're heading out the door, you definitely want to give yourself plenty, and I mean plenty of extra time. While we may not be seeing any dense fog advisories being issued this morning, you still want to keep that in mind as we start to track out about less than a mile for areas like Roseburg. Working your way into Eugene, yes, we're seeing rather clear conditions, but hey, I'm looking at our live shot buddy out there, and we could see some of that patchy fog working its way on in. Over across the remainder of the day, we work from the 40s into 50s and 60s, but that sun managing to push us into potential 70s for some areas. Of course, so all of this expected to change heading into the weekend. We'll track out that change coming up in just a bit.
LSB Live is sponsored by Alpha Towing and Recovery.
Thank you, Bree. It's time for a look at our morning traffic watch. Our live shot buddy currently along I-5 at the Cottage Grove exit. We are seeing some fog, so like Bree said, still give yourself some extra minutes. It's not as dense as yesterday, but with any type of fog, you definitely want to plan ahead for that. LSB saying the roads are still a little damp in some spots and temperatures not as cold, so you might not have to go out to warm up that car as early as you have been. But John does have an additional report.
Yeah, one thing that just happened within the past 5 minutes or so over on Oregon 38. This is just a little ways off to the east of heading over towards Reedsport. There was rock fall that happened. Now that's not necessarily leading to any major delays, but it is something to keep in mind as we head towards the weekend. Some much stronger weather on the horizon between winds and rain, rock falls, debris slides, all very much in play for us heading into the weekend. So this morning, a little bit of a reminder of that to make sure you're staying very much weather aware and keeping an eye on trip check moving forward. Well, switching gears now to a live look at the Senate floor over on our nation's capital. The federal government shutdown continuing, record-breaking shutdown entering day 22. Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley, you can see right here, continuing to speak. Now, this has been the site ever since yesterday afternoon, now working on about 15 hours where he's been holding the floor. He's been speaking that marathon session, protesting against the president. Here's a look to some of what he's had to say.
Trump has publicly called for investigations into other political enemies, as we have seen.
Now, also in that ongoing speech, he said that the president's moves since taking office are equivalent to an authoritarian seizure of power. The senator began speaking again yesterday around 3:30 in the afternoon. Several Senate Democrats have taken part in marathon speeches in protest against the president since he took office earlier this year. Senator Merkley also criticizing the Supreme Court justices for not putting more limits on presidential powers.
Food stamp benefits could soon run out for millions of people, including 750,000 Oregonians due to the government shutdown. This now causing the acting director of SNAP to comment.
We know that USDA currently has about $6 billion in their contingency funds. It's about $8 billion to be able to pay all of the benefits for all across America. But the secretary does have the authority to look at other funding within USDA to make up the difference.
She says benefits won't necessarily be lost, but could be delayed until the government reopens. She stresses that with increased food costs, there's also limits on how much food pantries can give. Officials in several states have issued warnings saying money for SNAP benefits is days from running out. The Department of Agriculture says it's seeking alternative funding sources. Meanwhile, a possible solution is on the horizon for local Medicaid members.
Oregon Health Authority saying that healthcare company Trillium will more than likely absorb Pacific Source's members in Lane County. Now, Pacific Source's coverage in the county ending in January. That'll impact roughly 90,000 people who currently rely on the company for no-cost health coverage. For now, nothing is certain. OHA, though, does say that the discussions with Trillium are in progress. And in a statement, OHA also saying in part, quote, based on OHA's review of information provided by Trillium, OHA is moving forward to broaden coverage to all OHP members in Lane County, end quote. OHA has also said that they're advocating to extend Pacific Source's coverage until February. That would allow a little extra time for members to transition to Trillium. For now, though, all of this still very much a work in progress, and we'll continue to provide more updates as new information comes in. Meanwhile, following up on license plate reading cameras, flock cameras, privacy concerns have been at the core of the city of Springfield's decision back on Monday night to hold off on activating 25 new flock cameras that were installed by Springfield Police Department in September.
While the community expressed consistent faith in SPD's ability to police the community during the council meeting, Gold Meadows explains that faith vanished when the discussion turned to the department's ability to protect citizens from data sharing with other agencies.
Flock cameras capture still images of vehicles, including make, model, and other features. And Springfield police say it's a modern upgrade to spotting a plate manually. But Springfield City councilors and residents alike are worried about who will have access to the data.
I feel a pause on this topic where I need to get maybe more information.
I've heard from very few people that are like, I think this is fantastic. And I've heard from people across the political spectrum who are concerned.
I can't in good conscience support a open sharing with another department at this point.
Springfield City councilors are divided between taking down flock cameras and restricting their use.
This is a complex topic, but nobody's saying that they're worried about Springfield PD in this conversation. They're worried about where the data is stored. They're worried about broader trends across the country. They're worried about other agencies, right?
The automated license plate readers are not yet operating in Springfield, and now it's uncertain if they will in the future.
I'm disappointed. However, I think we need to be responsive to council and to our community members' concerns and try to address what their primary concerns are and show them that this is a tool we would like to use to keep our community safe.
SPD purchased the cameras with an organized retail theft grant and says organized groups come into the city and hit multiple retailers at once. And the cameras would help investigators tie cars to suspects.
We're doing surveillance, we're doing stings, we're working with retailers to identify the timeframes that are the highest theft timeframes and trying to dedicate people to those and personnel hours to those businesses to catch people in the act of doing things. Whereas the objective evidence of this license plate was tied to this car, we can link them to multiple thefts. We're not able to use that evidence now. It's going to have to be a first-hand visual observation.
SPD acknowledged the potential for misuse of the cameras, but balanced this with their effectiveness in locating missing persons, solving violent crimes, and finding dangerous suspects.
The majority of the City Council understands that while this is a tool for the police department to use, that the side effects of it, the consequences of using it, the potential for abuse is too great. There will always be some sort of institution or the government that will tell you they can make you a little bit more safer if you give up more and more of your rights. I feel for the people that have had violent crimes committed against them. I want the police to be able to do their jobs, but I also want the police and the government to respect our civil rights.
Crawley says if they're unable to move forward with Flock, they'll look into other license plate reading cameras. In Eugene, I'm Gold Meadows.
SPD says it has a custom search filter that blocks camera use for immigration and reproductive enforcement, and that the cameras are not hackable via Wi-Fi or physical proximity. On October 13th, the city of Eugene voted to deactivate its 57 Flock cameras to also further discuss privacy concerns and access to data.
Time right now is